Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Iftar on Ahlulbayt TV with me, your host, Tasvira Jessa. Oh, it's such an exciting day, only because sugar's involved, sadly. We're going to be doing dessert day again. And for this, we're going to be doing a lovely dessert that makes me feel a little bit less guilty because I've sneaked in a vegetable. So I hope you like that. And we're also going to do a very impromptu dessert that, you know, when someone calls you up after Iftar, you've put all the food away, you've eaten, you're ready to sit down, you've done your duas, and someone calls you up and says, "Are you busy? We just want to pop in." And you panic because you haven't got anything to serve with chai or coffee. But I've got something today that's going to help you solve that problem. And inshallah, I hope you're going to enjoy it. So I'm really looking forward to you getting everything together and baking and cooking along with me today. So for our first dessert, we're going to be making a biscuit and carrot custard pudding. For that, we're going to need a couple of carrots. Now, I've got 2. You can add 3 in. It's up to you. And all I've done with the carrots is I've grated them. Now, these are finely grated, so they will actually disperse into the custard almost invisibly, so they'll completely melt into the custard. If you want, you can try it like this, or you can grate them thicker, so you actually see them almost like specks of jewels floating in your custard. It's up to you what you would like to do. These won't give you a bite at all, so these will melt in. If you want a little bit of, not a crunch, but a bite in that custard, just to give it a different sort of texture when you're eating it, that's why you would choose different graters. So if you're going to make this more than once, always try and grate it in a different way and you'll see what you really like. So we've got carrots, we've got a packet of rich tea biscuits, and we've got milk, we've got tin milk, and we also have sweet milk. Now this is a dessert, and we also have, we've got custard powder, and we've got 4 tablespoons of custard powder, so I've done 4 tablespoons of sugar. We've also got milk, and we're going to use half of it. So we're going to use 2 pints of milk. This is a dessert that my aunt from Dar taught me years ago. She explained it to me and I had a go. And to this day, I don't know if it's the same dessert as what she had in her mind, but this was my take on what she told me all those years ago. So for this to get started, we're going to get a pot, put our milk on to boil, and we're going to get a frying pan to sweat off our carrots because we want to lose that juice that's in them. So we're going to put our milk on to boil, and we just want a little bit of the water in the milk to burn off. We want a thicker consistency before we mix in our custard powder. We're going to get a frying pan out and we're going to saute our carrots in some butter just so they lose a bit of that moisture in them. Okay, so into our pot goes 2 pints of milk. I've added in a whole tin of milk and 2 pints of whole milk. You can use semi-skimmed, you can use any milk you like for this. I'm just going to let that boil for a little bit, just for the water to evaporate. So just keep an eye on it, you don't want it to overboil. And here I've got a frying pan that I've been heating up. And into my frying pan, I'm going to put about a tablespoon or so of butter. And remember, we don't want the butter to burn, we want it to sizzle nicely. And straight into that, we're going to put our carrots. We're going to sweat the carrots down for about 10-15 minutes. You'll notice all the moisture will evaporate, and that's how we need it to use in our custard. So while that's also happening, we'll give it a stir, just like that. We'll keep an eye on it, but while that's happening, we're gonna get the base layer of our pudding started. For that, we're going to be needing a pack of biscuits and a tin of sweet milk. Now we're going to use up the tin, but first, before we add it to the milk, because all the milks will be mixed, before we add it to the milk, we're going to be using it with our biscuits. And for this, before I do that, we're going to need something to serve our dessert in. Here we go. So we're going to do it in this, only because we'll be able to see through. And let me show you how to get started. Now you could try this dessert. I've never tried it, but you could try this dessert using, you know, the caramel sweet milk, the one that we use for banoffee pie. It's just a thought I had. And I wonder how that would taste in this dessert, because again, it would give a different flavor completely. And I think, do you remember what? In the kitchen, there's nothing wrong. You're not ever able to actually do something incorrectly, because everything you do is an experiment, and you're building on different tastes, different ways of doing things, but there's nothing wrong. So I've got this sweet milk, but I'm just wondering, next time maybe I might try it with the caramelized one, which is actually this sweet milk, but it's boiled. So I've taken the cookie, the rich tea biscuit, and I'm just sandwiching him with some sweet milk in the middle, and I'm making a layer at the bottom. So our carrots are cooking, our milk is boiling, and once we've done this layer, we're going to be ready to start making our custard. It was really interesting. I was reading about carrots, and carrots actually, when they were first discovered, which, can you guess what country? Because to be honest, I didn't know this either. And it wasn't until I was reading about carrots that I learned this. So I'm going to give you a chance before I tell you. Can you guess where carrots were discovered? If you said Afghanistan, you were right. I didn't think that at all. I was actually thinking that the carrot, like a potato, might be something European, but they were actually brought across. And the first carrots, would you believe, were not orange. Carrots actually came in, can you guess what color? Let me put you out of your misery. They came in purple and yellow. Those were the first carrots. And it wasn't until it came to Europe that the Europeans created the orange carrot. They were red, they were purple, yellow, some red. And then the Europeans created the orange one, which we're used to having. I thought that was an interesting fact that I thought I'd share with you. So, carrots are very high in vitamins, especially vitamin K. Truth to, do they help you see in the dark? I don't know. Any opticians out there that can advise us? If there is truth to that old wives' tale? Whenever I see carrots, I always think of my brother. Because when he was younger, he's going to hate me telling you this, I'm sure. But when he was younger, my grandmother, every single day, and I mean every single day, gave him for his snack a bowl of cut up carrots. And the thing is, my mom used to cut up carrots for all of us. And we'd take a few. My dad would take it for his snack. We'd take it for ours. But he was little at the time, and he used to have a big bowl of carrots every single day. And it turned out his skin actually went orange. Like, he looked orange. And I remember my mom taking him to the doctor, trying to figure out what was wrong with him. It turned out he was having too many carrots. So go easy on it if you're feeding it to your kids. I'm sorry I mentioned that story, but I think of my brother all the time when I see carrots. Okay, these are still sweating down. So they're gonna need another 5 to 10 minutes. And you know that they're ready because the moisture, you won't see any moisture in them. And there's still a bit of moisture left in the bottom of our pan. So once that's dried out, then we're ready to get going on our custard. The carrots, you can smell sort of that caramelly sweetness coming out of it. It's just caramelizing, but it's the sweetness that you can smell, and I can see that there's no moisture left at the bottom of the pan, so the carrots are done. We'll turn that off. The milk is boiling, so we're gonna start putting the custard in there. I have sandwiched all the tea biscuits, and I've got a bowl here. So 4 tablespoons of custard powder and 4 tablespoons, I think it was about 3.5 tablespoons, but 4, because when you read the container on the custard, it says 2 tablespoons custard powder and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm just going to mix it together with a little bit of milk. And just like that. Make it into like a thin paste. Break down all the bits of custard powder. Look at that lovely color. Who makes custard at home these days? Everyone just gets a tin, a carton. But gosh, I remember the days of when we used to make custard at home like this, and we'd come home and we'd have for our snack, we'd have bananas sliced into custard. Or when there was a cake and someone made hot custard like this. And honestly, I think this next generation, they're growing up thinking that custard actually comes out of a carton as opposed to something that's made, and it doesn't take long at all. So into the milk, I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla for flavor. So just in there, a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm now gonna pour in my custard. Now, at the same time, you want to be stirring this, and you will see how quickly the custard gets thick. So we're gonna pour it all in, and voila, you can see how quickly that's happened. That didn't take long at all. So sometimes actually going to the shop to buy a carton takes a lot longer than making something fresh at home, and it doesn't take very long at all. So I'm gonna just scrape in the last of my custard straight in. I just love the color. It just makes you happy. It's one of those things. Okay, I'm going to give it a good stir. Now, if you want, you could grate some nutmeg into this. Cinnamon's not one I would put because I think it overpowers all the other flavors. But can you see how quickly that's thickened up? That didn't take long at all, just seconds really. Into that goes all of my carrot, and for a little bit more sweetness, we can add in some of this sweet milk as well, just to give it a little bit of sweetness. If you don't like it too sweet, then don't add the sweet milk. Now I'm just gonna whip that in like that. Might just get my fork out to help me break up the carrot. My temperature has gone to minimum, so I want to break up the carrot in this dessert. So I'm using a fork. You can use a whisk. I just think with the whisk, all the bits of carrot will get stuck into the blades on your whisk. So I'm slowly pouring in some of the sweet milk. And with this, it's always nice to use a heavy bottom saucepan for this. And again, this is something you can make at night, so you can actually try it instead of making it during the day, because this is a dessert you want to keep overnight, because as it chills, all the milk, all the flavors get absorbed into the biscuit. So this isn't something you want to make in the morning and serve at night. Maybe when you've got more energy at night after you've broken your fast, then you can make this and you can taste it as well. Okay, you can see that the specks of the carrot in our custard, it almost looks like jewels, just straining through, it's running through it. So that's ready, and it's ready to be poured on top of our biscuits. Okay, so our custard's ready, our biscuits are ready, and we're just pouring this lovely custard sauce on top of our biscuits. Nice and hot, because we want our biscuits to absorb a lot of the moisture from this liquid. And this is something you can make day in advance. You know you're going to someone's house and you want to take a dessert with you. This is a nice one to make in advance, so on the day you're not stressed, you have nothing to worry about. Okay, on top of that, we're just going to layer on our next layer of biscuits, just like that. So we've sandwiched them with the sweet milk. Now, I did say it might be nice to try the caramel milk, sweet milk. And with that, remember, if you put that into your custard, it's going to change the color of your custard. Okay, so now we're going to do our second layer. I'm just going to pour it on top. And I'm sure you'll notice that we still will have mixture left over. So that means we've got another pudding ready in the make, which will obviously be a very simple one. And you can see the bubbles that are forming on top, because remember, the cookies are absorbing the moisture that's making space in the tin. And on top of this, this is ready. So that's done. You can see how much custard we still have left. So you have a lot of options. Here I've got some little dessert glasses. So I can slice up some banana, and with the banana, just pour it straight in and leave it to chill. And we have another dessert. Also, if you have a tub of double cream in the house, let this cool completely, whip up the double cream and mix the two together, put them in a Tupperware container and stick it in the freezer. And you're gonna have carrot and caramel ice cream to serve to your guests on another day. To garnish our dish, I've got some chopped nuts and I've also got some fresh fruit. So all that we're gonna do is I'm gonna take the chopped nuts. If you have chocolate, you could actually use chocolate. So I am just literally going to make it look attractive, I'm going to do lines of pistachios, which I've chopped, and almonds. Now the almonds, you can see the nice color in them, are roasted almonds, which give a really nice flavor to this dish as well. But if anybody in the house is allergic to nuts, then by all means you can do it with shavings of chocolate on top or just fruit. I wouldn't put the fruit on straight away when it's hot. I'd let it cool down. Now, because I'm putting the nuts on, it doesn't matter about it being hot. But if I wasn't going to garnish it with that, then I'd need to cover it. So the best thing to do is cling film it with a few holes in the cling film, because you want to prevent it forming a skin on top. And with the little ones, you could just take a bit of greaseproof paper and just cut a circle and put it on top. And that stops the skin forming on a custard. Because to be honest, I'm not keen on that. Some people really like it because it's almost like a cream. It reminds them of a cream. My father-in-law used to love that. And every time he would cool, he'd take a bit out. You know, when you boil milk and it makes the cream on the top, that layer, oh, he used to love it. So if you do enjoy it, that's fine, not to worry. But if you don't like that layer on top, then this is what you can do. There, that's how simple it is. So we've made one dessert, and now we're ready to make the next one. We're on to our second dessert. For the funnel cake, I've got 2 eggs in here, and I've got half a cup of milk, and I'm gonna pour it straight in. And to that, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. So our liquids all go into a bowl. So we're gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla. That goes straight in. And I'm just gonna beat my eggs and my milk together. No, it doesn't really matter how much you beat it. So our eggs are beaten in, and this is how easy it is. Straight into that, I've got 1 cup of flour. And here, I've got the cinnamon, but I'm gonna put the cinnamon aside for a second. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 pinches of salt, and I've got 2 tablespoons of sugar. So that's gonna go straight in with my flour. So I'm gonna mix my dry ingredients, and I'm gonna then beat them into our wet ingredients. That's how quick it is. Our mixture is ready. Okay, so just gonna give that a bit of a mix. And I'm gonna pour all of that straight into our flour and egg mixture. It's almost like making pancakes or waffles. It's a similar mixture, but the way we're going to make them, we're not gonna put them in a griddle pan or anything. We're going to fry them. I know it's not so healthy, but it's one of those desserts. It just reminds you of when you were a child and, you know, when you went to the fair and those hot mini donuts that came out. Now, obviously, it's all about churros. So we're gonna give it a good mix, break up any lumps of flour that are in the mixture, and that's it. Our mixture is ready. You can see there's really not many lumps in there anymore. So that's ready. I'm gonna get a frying pan and we're gonna put it on to heat. So I'm gonna put it up there, turn it on, and into that I'm going to pour, gonna heat that up. Into that I'm gonna pour in some vegetable oil. So vegetable oil or sunflower oil, whichever one you have. We're gonna fill it up halfway, just like that. And we're gonna let the oil heat up. It's gonna be nice and hot. So when the mixture, the batter hits the oil, it cooks straight away. To make the funnel cake, we need a funnel. So in the old days, when you go to the fair, you'd see a machine that looked similar to this with a stopper on the end. So you take it, pour your mixture in, move your finger, and that would make one funnel cake. I've got a squeezy container here. Now this I got from my mom's in Canada, and it was just something that they got their honey in. So it's got a nice spout at the end, which is quite similar to the funnel. And I just find it easier to hold this on top instead of refilling my funnel all the time. So if you don't have one of these squeezy containers, it's fine. You've got a funnel, use the funnel, because that's how traditionally funnel cake is made. To test the oil to see if it's hot enough, all you want to do is drop a little bit of this batter into the oil, and it should straight away float up like that. So that's how we know the oil is ready. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, when you pour it in, you just want to crisscross, go over it, because we want it to stick together. Now you can see how it's bubbling up. And that's it. That's funnel cake. So as it's going brown, turn the temperature down a little bit, and we're ready to flip it over. It literally takes seconds to cook. It doesn't take long at all. And that's it. So it's browned on the other side. And I'm just using 2 different, you can use any kind of spatula that you have. Hold it, and there we go. So really, this is an Englishman's jalebi if you think about it. So on top of this, I've got some icing sugar, and while it's nice and hot, you just need to sprinkle on the icing sugar, and it's generally covered in icing sugar. And we're ready to serve. So you could make small ones if you don't want to make a big one. And you can serve them in small plates. That's how easy it is to make funnel cake. So if we want, we could also now, this is where the cinnamon comes in, and you can mix cinnamon and icing sugar and have cinnamon flavored ones. So let's make a few more. Now you can't make it wrong because any shape is okay. So you can be very creative with your shapes. So I've turned my temperature down a little bit because we don't want them to go dark brown. We'll just flip it over like so. And flip the other one as well. And they go straight onto their plate for serving. Alhamdulillah, we've had such a wonderful time cooking together. So we made funnel cakes, we made a big one that everyone cut into, or we made individual ones to go into the plates, just like that, to have with chai. And this is an impromptu dessert when someone just appears, or just when the kids are craving something. And that smell of the cinnamon and sugar, I have no words, honestly. We have our carrot and biscuit custard pudding that we made one, but you saw how we still had leftover mixture, so we could make another dessert with it. And we also talked about beating up some double cream and mixing the cooled mixture into it to have an ice cream that we could put in the freezer and save for a rainy day when we need that as well. Also mixing that same mixture with cream cheese and making a cheesecake base with biscuits and butter, making the base. You could actually almost have small cheesecakes with that as well. So we've got lots of ideas today for things to make with one mixture. I hope you really enjoyed cooking with me, and I would love to get to know your feedback. How did the family or your friends enjoy the funnel cake? I'd love to hear from you. I really enjoyed cooking with you today, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Iftar on Ahlulbayt TV. Take care, be well, and be with those that you love, and share all the goodies that you're making with them. Ma salama.